Early July 1978, I was back in Pamplona, Spain, for the San Fermin Festival, the second year in a row. Now, I know you've read Hemingway, you know about the running of the bulls and all that. I didn't go to run with the bulls. Being chased by half a dozen 1,500-pound animals with sharp horns down a narrow street is not my idea of fun. But I did luck out. I had a hotel room right on the street where they run, the bulls and the people run every morning at 8 a.m. And it had a balcony, and I could sit there and drink my coffee and watch them run. What I went to Pamplona for was the bullfights, it's 8 nights of continuous bullfights, 8 continuous nights of bullfights, 6 bulls a night. And I'm not going to try to explain or defend bullfighting, certainly here today. This was a long time ago. I was a lot younger. And back in the 60s, I had watched this weekly program, Bullfights from Mexico City, on an obscure UHF station narrated by an American who'd become a matador in Madrid. And I really learned this phenomenon called bullfighting, and I became a real aficionado. So later, in the 70s, when I was able to, in 1977, I decided to take a vacation, a bullfight watching vacation, and having read Hemingway, I knew I could go to Pamplona and do that. And I lucked out with that great hotel room. I also lucked out with fantastic seat for the bullfights in the second row of the choicest section. And so I ended up sitting next to a woman, came in and sat to my left, who was maybe 15, 20 years older than me, very attractive, very stylishly dressed. And she spoke very little English, I spoke very little Spanish, but we bonded over the experience of the bullfights. We were shouting "Olé" at the same time. We were waving our white handkerchiefs demanding a trophy for the matador at the same time. We were voicing our displeasure at the same time. And the final night of the festival, before the bullfight, she said to me, "Tonight, after last bull, you come me." "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, lo siento. Tengo una vuelta en la mañana. I've got a flight in the morning. I was planning to be in Burgos by nightfall." No, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Take just 5 minutes. And then she added, "Every year, after last bull, few close friends Hemingway, we put, how you say, this on statue with Antonio Ordóñez, El Torero, you come." The statue she was talking about is this huge statue of Hemingway that's outside the bull ring, honoring him for making the town famous. The this is the red bandana that everybody wears throughout the festival. Antonio Ordóñez was one of the most famous matadors of all time. It was Ordóñez who was one of Hemingway's favorites, and Hemingway traveled with Ordóñez through the summer of 1959 and wrote a series of Life magazine articles about it, which became the book, The Dangerous Summer. And by saying few close friends Hemingway, we, and from her age and appearance, and from what I knew about Hemingway's reputation and Ordóñez's reputation, I got the impression that she was maybe, how you say, very close friends with one or the other of them, or both. So, sure enough, after the last bull, she led me back through the corridors. Ordóñez was waiting for her. Everything happened very fast. Ordóñez wasn't wearing his toupee. He was dressed very plainly, I guess so no one would notice, and everything happened very fast, I guess for the same reason. And Ordóñez climbed up on the statue, and he pulled out a whole string of these bandanas, knotted end to end like this, and he wrapped them around and around and around Hemingway's neck. And then we all just went our different ways. No one said anything. We all just went wherever we were going to go. But I spent the whole year then kicking myself for not trying to get to know that woman earlier. I would have been fascinated to know what she could have told me about Hemingway, Ordóñez, the dangerous summer of 1959. So I came back the following year, and that was '78, and I managed to get the same hotel room. I didn't get quite the same tickets. I was 2 rows further back in the same section. And on the first night of the bullfights, I found her. We agreed to meet after the 3rd night of bullfights. But after the 2nd night of bullfights, something extraordinary happened. And, the colors of the festival are white and red. And throughout the bullfights, the sun side of the bull ring is filled with mozos, young men, dressed in white and red. And they have bands. They're in white and red uniforms. They have bands. They practice all year. And they play throughout the festival. It's a competition. And after the last bull, they climb down into the rueda, the bull ring, and they form up in their bands. And band by band, they go marching out into the night. And you hop in behind the band that you like, dance in the street, and you're back to the festival. Well, on that 2nd night, along with the mozos, came 6 young men and women dressed in black. And they had signs demanding amnesty for Basque terrorists. And this was only a couple years after Franco had died, so it was a very heavily policed, heavily controlled state. And this was very unusual. So the people in the stands began to chant, San Fermin, San Fermin, San Fermin, meaning, hey, it's a festival. We don't want your politics. Let's lighten up. Let's enjoy it. And outside the bull ring, throughout the festival, there was these bus loads full of Policia Armada. This was a national police force in military uniforms. I never knew what they were doing all out there. Well, I found out what they were doing because all of a sudden, that was all they needed. That little bit of conflict was all they needed, and the double doors to the rueda swung open with a booming sound. They come in a V formation, holding what looked to me to be semi-automatic weapons, firing straight ahead at them into the crowd, which was hundreds of mozos and 6 protesters. Now, I learned later that most of what they were firing was rubber bullets, but I did see some of them with their sidearms out firing. One of the mozos was shot to death that night, a young man named Herman Rodriguez, and over 100 were injured. I felt like I had witnessed the Kent State, the Spanish Kent State. And so I got back to my hotel room, but I pretty much could not leave my hotel room for the next couple days because what started as a police riot became a riot of the mozos. They were pretty pissed that one of them had been killed. And so out on that street where normally if the festival was going on, in the morning there'd be the running of the bulls and the mozos, well, all night long the mozos would gather and they'd begin to chant, Policia, assassina, policia, assassina. And I'd hear pop, pop of tear gas canisters being shot. The street would fill up with tear gas. My room would fill up with tear gas. I'd have to go to the lobby of the hotel, which was on the other side. It was on the town square. And after a while, the mozos would regroup there. Policia, assassina, policia, assassina. Pop, pop, tear gas. Lobby would fill up with tear gas, and I'd have to go back to my room. And I spent 2 nights like that. The festival, of course, was canceled. I eventually rented a car, finished that vacation at a beach community near Barcelona. And I came back the next year for one more bullfighting vacation, 3 weeks of bullfights, the San Isidro Festival in Madrid. Never got back to Pamplona, never learned who that woman was or what she might have been able to tell me about Hemingway or Ordóñez. But I learned something from it because I had always thought of myself as a big fan of Hemingway's writing style, but not his lifestyle, not his macho lifestyle. And yet, his Dangerous Summer of 1959 led directly to my Dangerous Summer of 1978.